What do Poles want to see at the movies? The answer seems simple enough. For the last few years, Polish movie theatre listings have been dominated by American films. This period began when the Polish economy started to become more market-oriented. Film distributors and movie theatre managers quickly learned that only an American entertainment film can guarantee them financial success. Perfect acting, special effects, and a sensational plot. Are these the only things that are of interest to Polish audiences? Krzysztof Dzierat, manager of one of 3 private movie theatres in Krakow, is optimistic that Polish audiences have broader interests than this. However, by looking at today's movie posters, we can see that American titles continue to be very popular.
Ale okazuje się, że także kino artystyczne, którego tak bardzo chyba zaczęliśmy pragnąć, również robi niezłą kasę. Takie przykłady to chociażby film Caravaggio, czy wszystkie filmy Jarmusza, a także filmy polskie, które powoli zaczynają także powoli królować na ekranach.
For example, a new Polish premiere, Sequence of Feelings by Radosław Piwowski, drew a bigger audience than Sniper by Tony Berenger, much to Mr. Dzierat's surprise. The Polish film industry is doing quite well. Currently, they are expected to produce 19 new Polish premieres by the end of the year. Some time ago, film production was entirely sponsored by the state's budget. As a result, government officials in charge of censorship were ultimately deciding which scripts were to be accepted. Nowadays, filmmakers can say what they want, but they must cover 60% of the costs. Some of these new films are done in co-productions with Western partners.
Przemysł ten, zbudowany w swoim czasie na miarę 100 produkcji fabularnych, nie jest w stanie przetrwać w oparciu o produkcję narodową, która nawet jeśli utrzymana na tak wysokim poziomie jak 30 produkcji rocznie, może co najwyżej utrzymać jedną z 3 działających w Polsce wytwórni filmowych. Zatem, żeby ten przemysł przetrwał, muszą przyjechać tu producenci światowi, a wiadomo, że najlepszymi partnerami, którym można oferować usługi filmowe, są Amerykanie.
On the 23rd of May, Steven Spielberg finished shooting his newest films, Schindler's List, here in Poland. The 2 months of production with Spielberg have in some way served as a test for Polish filmmakers. They are hoping that because of Schindler's List, Poland will be seen as a good country in which to make films, but not only because of its cheap labour. A part of the footage for Schindler's List was shot in a TV studio in Krakow. Built by the communists in the 70s, the studio was intended to be the most modern facility in Central and Eastern Europe. Here, huge theatre shows were supposed to be produced. Now the studio is barely used because the costs are too high. For a single day of production in Krakow's studio, Spielberg paid $1,000. The budget for this one movie is bigger than an entire year's budget of the Polish Cinema Committee, which can spend the equivalent of $1.5 million a year in co-sponsoring movies. Another good example of the transformation of Polish cinema is a studio for animated movie production located in Krakow near Wawel Castle. As you can tell by looking at the building, its best years are over. After 25 years in operation, the studio has produced more than 300 animated films, of which 120 have won prestigious awards at many famous film festivals. Annecy, Chicago, Oberhausen, and many others. The producers of these films used various artistic techniques. For instance, Josef Julian Antonis used to paint directly on the film. The teams that created these ambitious films no longer exist. At one time, up to 80 people worked in this studio. Today, there are only 11. Those who did not want to work on classical cartoons and draw children's characters had to go. Not a single purely artistic film has been made since 1991. This kind of film is no longer being made because the studio cannot count on funding from the state's budget as it once did. Instead, it must earn its money on its own. Just like feature film producers, the animation studio is hoping for cooperation with Western partners.
Studio robi w tej chwili duży, pełnometrażowy film Księga Lasu, w oparciu o scenariusz Zbigniewa Książka. film ten będzie przeznaczony dla dzieci i tak właściwie cała produkcja naszego studia nastawiona jest w tej chwili na rynek, czyli na filmy dla dzieci. Te ambitne filmy, które zdobywały nagrodę, o której Pani wspomniała, mam nadzieję, nie należą tylko do przeszłości, ale również do przyszłości.
But for now, there is no question that entertainment pieces are the only ones worthy of investment. Nonetheless, an entertainment film for children does not necessarily have to be bad. On the other hand, more and more filmmakers find the audience's acceptance of their work more important than the realization of their own artistic visions.
Dzisiaj młody reżyser, który daje swój film do kina, rozumie, że ma konkurować z amerykańskim kinem, przede wszystkim z kinem rozrywkowym. Myślę, że to powoduje pewną nerwowość. Tym bardziej, że on ciągle wierzy, że będzie mógł konkurować z tym kinem. Czasem to się udaje.
As it turns out, the most important problem that Polish cinematography is facing is not the overabundance of American movies, but the lack of people in the movie theaters. According to statistics, the average Pole goes to the movies once every 4 years. After all, those who decide to spend their evening in the movie theatre for 30,000 zlotys, which is quite expensive for the average Pole, want to see more than a typical entertainment film. The Polish Cinematography Committee is aware of this problem. In order to combat it, the committee is paying from 2,000 to 5,000 zlotys for each ticket purchased in movie theatres that show European or Polish films. Soon, a network of cinemas promoting European cinematography will be created in Poland. Cinema managers say audiences will have to be educated to appreciate these films.